Okay, so they said that in a meeting with the Bari government and Mlima Co's board of directors, Bari government offered Mlima exclusive rights to mine the copper. It is expected that there are enough deposits to last at least 15 years. Initial estimates suggest that the project will generate free cash flow of 4 million in the first year, rising by 100% a year in each of the next 2 years, and then by 15% in each of the 2 years after that. The free cash flows are then expected to stabilize at the year 5 level for the remaining 10 years. So that makes sense now. So we can easily get our free cash flows from there, from this Bari project. Now they said the cost of the project payable at the start is expected to be 150 million, comprising machinery, working capital, and mining rights payable to Bari government. None of these costs is expected to be recoverable at the end of the project's 15-year life. So this has given us good information for us to calculate the present value of the project. Now they said Bari government has offered Mlima Co a subsidized loan over 15 years for the full 150 million at an interest rate of 3% instead of the normal borrowing rate of 7%. So we saw that earlier. So they're giving them the interest rate. So our discount rate will now be 3%. Now, if we get this, then this means that we're seeing an APV-like computation for the Bari project. So we have our base case NPV based on the free cash flows they've given us. Then we also have our tax shield. So we'll have a tax shield as a result of the interest, and then we'll have subsidy too. So we'll do an APV-like calculation for the value of the Bari project. Then it can be assumed that Mlima Co's business risk is not expected to change as a result of undertaking the Bari project. So this is a type what valuation?
Type 1. Type 2.
But they said business risk will not change now, but they are giving them some kind of change in, they're giving them subsidies. So as a result of that subsidy, it's a type 2 now. Financial risk changing, but business risk is not changing. So that's type 2. And we said from day one that we can use APV to do a type 2 valuation. So that's exactly what we are going to do here. So this is type 2. And then at the conclusion of the meeting between Bari government and Mlima Co's board of directors, the Bari president commented that working together will be like old times when he and the Mlima Co's chief executive used to run a business together. Now, the first temptation is to say that there is corruption involved, but strong business relationships are the hallmark of a good business. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. However, there are some ethical issues that have been raised with the relocation and the way that the farmers have been handled. And that's the last part of our requirement, where they said we should discuss the possible impact and ethical issues with respect to the relocation of farmers. So it doesn't necessarily mean the issues that we would have is if Mlima Co says that because of the relocation of farmers that they are no longer interested in the project, they might not be doing the farmers any favor, because if you don't take on the project, maybe another company will, and if another company takes it up, there's no guarantee that those farmers will be protected. So one of the things that can happen is that maybe the chief executive of Mlima Co can prevail on the president of Bari to find a more suitable space, a more fertile land to relocate those farmers, because it might not be reasonable for us to argue that the farmers should not move from their settlement. However, maybe Milnaco to Limaco can assist the farmers by maybe giving them some level of training or giving them employment opportunities within that location where they are. Maybe some of the farmers that are educated or that have the ability to do the work that is presently that they want to engage in Bari. So the argument about, yes, please.
Sorry, I think you are talking about the response now, not told us the impact.
So the impact
you have to discuss the impact before you do the response.
So they said discuss possible impact on and response of Milnaco to the following ethical issues. So the impact is, if the farmers are not happy, there is a possibility that those farmers might be disruptive influences, and that maybe the press might carry the plight of the farmers, and this will give Milnaco some level of negative publicity, which no company really likes. So that can be an impact. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
Okay, then of course the response is what I was saying. So the response might be, instead of just walking away, they might consider prevailing. Yes, please.
Sorry, this impact, I get it, but since they already told us that the government of Bahari controls the press, and the press have stopped talking about those people and ignore them. So that impact, can you?
But the press in Limaco, the world is a global village. The press in
so I said the press in the other country, okay, and get hold of it.
That's the one they should be more afraid of now, because their country obviously is a bigger country than. So if international news starts carrying your company as being irresponsible, then that's a bigger problem for you than something that is local. So that's also an impact. That's a major possibility. It's very, very easy and we see this happen with Apple, with Google, with Amazon, and all these other things where they go to smaller countries in Southeast Asia, and then it's not even them directly, but partners of their partners that have very, very unethical practices, maybe child labor or some kind of almost slave labor in the way that the employees are treated. And this have very significantly negative impact on them in terms of adverse press. So all those things are considerations, and there are possible potential impacts that can be on that company, and things that they should take cognizance of. Now, for the relationship with the president of Bari and Milnaco's chief executive officer, one of the things I was emphasizing is that relationship is not necessarily a bad thing, but consideration should be made that nobody got any personal benefits as a result of getting this project. So in order to get this project, that maybe bribes were not given or bribes were not taken, and that it was a due process in giving Limaco this opportunity, and that going forward, that Limaco acts as a proper corporate citizen and doesn't do anything because of the relationship, or doesn't engage in any.
Is that the response or the impact?
The impact is that consideration should be made about how the project was gotten. So they should consider the situation that warranted their getting that project, and then they should be conscious about the way their activities are going to be viewed. That's an impact. So they should be considerate in their actions so as not to appear to be bullying.
And then, is that my response?
That's an impact. As in, an impact is you will not have to take measures to ensure that you don't look like if you're above the law, that you're not doing things that make you above the law, and that might have some financial implications. So some of the things that, if you're not careful, you will need to have some costs incurred in ensuring that you do not look irresponsible. We're saying an impact of a relationship between the country's president and the chief executive officer. The impact of that relationship is the fact that really good relationships foster better business. So there's no problem with having those good relationships. Because many students, and I've read the examiner's report on this question, many students will say that it is not a good thing, that they should not, but that's being ignorant. And at this level of advanced financial management, you can't be ignorant about understanding that actually this relationship can actually be a good thing rather than a bad thing. So arguing about bribery and corruption, the only thing is it should be considered that there was no bribery or corruption taken, that there was nobody that was given any personal benefits as a result of getting this project. But also
that issue to ensure that, Brian, or maybe to ensure that while the relationship does not stop them from maintaining their standard, what they are known for,
yes,
the Mlima and all that.
Yeah, and also their quality and their corporate responsibility, the way that they treat staff, the way that they treat their workers, the way that the kind of quality of products that they're also bringing to market. All these things are considerations that should be taken. So their relationship with the powers that be in that country should not negate their consideration for all these factors. And then with potential responses, because of the relationship, of course, we've already said that with the farmers, they can prevail on the president to at least give them fertile land. Get the point, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so Nebi, you're doing a great work. We're in the final part now. Other information.
MCO's closest competitor is Ziwaco, a listed company which mines metals worldwide. MCO's directors are of the opinion that after listing MCO's cost of capital, MCO's cost of capital should be based on Ziwaco's ungeared cost of equity. Ziwaco's cost of capital is estimated at 9.4%. Its geared cost of equity is estimated at 16.83%, and its pre-tax cost of debt is estimated at 4.76%. These costs are based on a capital structure comprising of 200 million shares, trading at $7 each, and 1,700 million. What's that? Sorry.
That's 1.7 billion.
Okay, $1.7 billion, 5% irredeemable bonds, trading at $105 per $100. Both Ziwaco and MCO pay tax at an annual rate of 25% on their taxable profits. It can be assumed that all cash flows will be in dollars instead of the Bahari currency, and therefore MCO does not have to take account of any foreign exchange exposure from this venture.
Okay, so we're not doing any foreign exchange. Really, and they asked us, in preparing our report, the first part says we should explain why Limaco's board of directors are of the opinion that Milnaco's cost of capital should be based on Ziwaco's ungeared cost of equity, and showing relevant calculations estimates an appropriate cost of capital for Limaco. Okay, so I think we are set to start now.
Are you starting with the report, or you're starting with the question? Sorry, I wasn't here when you did, but I want to know today's question is the idea to do it the way it's supposed to be in exam. And you start with your introduction, so then you start your solving. Can we do it like that, please?
Yes, but please understand very clearly that in a report, like we just looked at the format for a report earlier, and we said that in a report, we should be careful to do the proper format. Remember that the professional marks, if we look back, one of the parts that many students usually get very badly done. So we should be clear about how to write our report. So in solving our question, we're going to, let's just do the basic things and try as much as possible to keep it within the way that the question will be asked. Okay, so
I'm sorry, Brian.
yes, please.
Hello, Brian. Please, if you're doing computer based, like this screen now, because since you said appendix should come after introduction, right?
Yes.
If you're doing before introduction,
Appendix should come either before or after introduction.
okay. So now, if you're doing computer based, and you know you have Excel sheet and the Word sheet, so how do you do the two of them?
So basically, in that case now, they've made your life very easy. All you will do is use the spreadsheet for your appendix and use the word processing for report. So your heading will be in the word processing. So your appendix will just be appendix on its own. And that will be very
so when do you now say maybe see appendix? You now write see appendix. Is it before your conclusion? Or while you're doing those other body of the stuff, you now see appendix 1, see appendix 2.
Most of the time, any of your, if you see now parts, the 1A or A1 also asks us for a discussion. So we'll discuss making reference to the appendix. A2 also asks us for some kind of discussion. So we'll also make reference to the appendix for the computation we've done for that one, and so on and so forth. So it's in A3 just has only discussion. There's no calculation. So we don't need
A3 has calculation too. Say A3 they said include relevant calculation. You don't
okay. So that the debt for equity for debt swap. Okay, so there's a calculation there, but A4 doesn't have any calculation. However, we might need to be referencing some of the calculations we had done earlier. Is this fine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's start our report. So we can do our heading first. So to the board of directors.
Okay, you saw my test?
No, sir.
I sent you the test before. You know, I was off for some time. I was somewhere, I was not in control of the environment, so I have to rush you.
Okay. All right. I just saw that you just joined us now. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. We've just been reading through the question.
Okay.
Okay, so we're about to start. So if you have any questions as we go on, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay, so to the
Brian,
board of...
Brian, you have to write out the, can't you write BOD?
Yes, you can write BOD. Please, in fact, I will actually advise that you write BOD. So what did they say? Did they tell you what you are in the question?
No.
Okay, so we can just assume. So consultant. So now the subject So our subject, we have cost of capital, valuation,
Sorry, Brian, must everything be in capital letter?
No, not at all. Not at all. So our exam is, I think, 8th of June.
Please now write today's date. Stop scaring us.
Please just remember that you're going to write the exam one day.
Thank God you said one day.
So one day, because Nebia said she wants to write the exam 2025.
God forbid.
It's possible. I can write CFA 2025. It's not bad.
Oh my Brian, I'm not done with this thing this year. It's telling me 2025.
I don't know what you are saying now. So then we can put our appendix here. So we'll have our appendix, and our appendix will have all the calculations. And then we can go down and then have our introduction. Okay, so what I'll just do is, let me just put, and in computer based, if they just gave you this, it will be impossible for you, because remember that one of the things, if anybody has seen how the computer based works in ACCA, their spreadsheet, the spreadsheet doesn't, you're not able to insert cells or columns. So it will be a very big problem for you. So it will be very good for us to have both a spreadsheet and a word processing. That way we don't have any of these problems. Do you get the point? But because I'm using Excel now, I can use Excel and I can I can insert columns if I get stranded. But I'll still give a lot of space and then come here and have my introduction. So just for us to appreciate how the introduction works. So the introduction now.
And like as we're writing up, do you think this calculation will take us like 3 pages or something so we can leave space?
Now,
or because
yes, it will take us a number of pages, and that's what you have to be able to estimate properly. So it will take you, just add one page to whatever your estimate is.
Please, can you go up a little? Let me see the heading.
Okay, what I did was I just opened for the appendix and left some space, a number of pages, and then I came and had my introduction. So what will generally happen is, if you're writing on paper, then you should have your appendix 1, appendix 2, appendix 3 for the different calculations. And please understand that one of the problems with valuation is valuation in itself is not necessarily usually very difficult. However, it takes a lot of time. So you might not be able to do all the appendices. Just make sure your report is in the proper format. And please make sure, no matter what, make sure you conclude. Make sure you have a conclusion. Without a conclusion, you cannot get the professional marks. So make sure you conclude. No matter what you've done, if you get stranded, make some assumptions in your numbers and continue. Make sure you've discussed and concluded. And I've seen too many people. I remember Kenny recently coming to class and complaining. If you had just listened, you would have passed the exam and you would have forgotten about it. But just those small, not listening is what causes problem. So for our introduction, we'll say something like,
Oh, how are you?
Brian, sorry, maybe in the next 15 reports we do, you allow us to like write introduction. Let's know if we can do it.
Okay, all right, that's good. So let me just give you an idea. I think we're going to do at least 3 very shortly. So in one of them, in one of them, I'll allow you to write. So maybe I do this one. Maybe even if everybody is not comfortable, I can even do the next one, and then subsequently, I'll now allow you to do and make sure that you're very, very clear. Now, please, what I've done here is I've given you an introduction the way that I want you to do an introduction in the exam. If you see how summarized my introduction is, I've spent only 2 sentences, nothing, no babbling, no. If you look at the examiner's comment or the examiner's model answer or any of the textbooks, whether BPP or Kaplan, they'll give you very, very long introduction or because of being standard. However, this introduction is the kind of introduction I want you to do in the exam. So this report discusses the cost of capital using ZIWACO as proxy. It also estimates the value of Mlima under 2 scenarios. Advice is given on a range of issues concerning the acquisition proposals. Full stop. I've done an introduction that gives you a very, very good summary of the work I want to do. So there's no need to start putting estimate of price range, brief explanation of changing its status from private to public, and so on and so forth. You'll just be spending so much time and not getting proper value. So your introduction can just be 2 very simple. In this case, I've given 3 sentences, but 2 paragraphs, very, very brief. No time wasted on this. And then I can go to my body of report. So in the body of report, you don't need to write body. What you need to do is to answer the questions using the headings. So the first one is cost of capital. So I can just have a heading, cost of capital.
Can you write one?
You sir?
Like I?
Can you
write
can.
I?
Yes, you can, but you can also leave it like this. So if I've just written cost of capital, then my discussion on cost of capital will come here. And so on and so forth. So after cost of capital, then I would have valuation, right? Valuation. So my next heading down will be valuation. So that cost of capital shouldn't take me very much. So I'll have that heading. And then I'll have equity to debt swap. And now you'll see that the only time that all these headings will make sense, and please, before you forget, just make sure that you remember that you have a conclusion when you're done. There are other things that we are discussing. There are other things they said we should discuss. But please, never forget your conclusion. So we have quite a number of things.
I'm supposed to title it.
You said? Conclusion?
I'm supposed to title, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Title your
Yes.
Okay, so you title it an introduction.
Yeah, you should say introduction, conclusion. The rest of the body of the report is the body of the. If you write body, it doesn't make any sense. But conclusion, you're saying that that is the conclusion you're giving, and then the introduction is the introduction to your report. And we can't know what our conclusion will be until we have done a lot of work. So we'll have to wait on the conclusion. However, the introduction will be something that once we've read the scenario, we know the key points that we want to pull out, and be as brief as possible, please. Because just remember that in themselves, introduction is not giving you any mark. Conclusion is not giving you any mark. What they are doing is giving you the professional marks, because professional marks will be awarded for, what did they say again? They said format, structure, and presentation. And I'm getting all of that with my, if you look at this, all of this is format, structure, and presentation. That's what I'm doing. So having my titles, having my different, the way, the heading, the this, the that, is all format, structure, and presentation. And that's usually what professional marks are given for. The rest of it is the logical flow of your arguments, the way that it's going. Now, in some cases, you might find doing number 1C, and please let me say that very clearly. In your body of the report, you can answer 1C before 1A. It's not going to affect your format in any way, as long as you have a heading for that. And then if it makes you more comfortable, you can put A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3 in the different things following the requirement of the scenario. That's also acceptable.
I think, are we not supposed to give room for this share price thing, or I don't know, where's it coming under?
Yes, definitely. I still have space. This is my equity debt swap. I don't expect that it will take very much space. So I've left, and me, I know that I can easily insert. I can insert anything I want to insert. I can insert something on top and continue increasing and increasing it. So I don't have any problem with that. However, your spreadsheet for ACCA doesn't have the option of inserting columns and rows. So you have to be careful. The great thing about it is, because of the way that the questions will be structured, it is very, very unlikely. We have not seen any it yet, but I can bet on the fact that you would have both a spreadsheet for your appendix and a word processing for your discussion. But if you did not, then you have to be careful about the amount of space you're leaving. But I'm pretty sure you will. I think we can take it for granted. You will have both a spreadsheet and word processing. Okay, so we can go to our appendix now and start doing our computation. So we have our appendix 1 now. So appendix 1, cost of capital. So we're doing our cost of capital now. So what do we need? If we are thinking our cost of capital, we need to on get cost of equity. So on get cost of equity, what we are going to do is to use our beta, our Modigliani and Miller M&M proposition with taxes. So that our formula beta asset is equal to beta equity value equity over value equity value debt 1 minus T. That's what we are going to use. So we need that information. Okay, so in this case now, our question did not give us any beta, but it gave us cost. Abi? Are you there? This thing is becoming a little, it's so quick before it goes off, and it's getting very distracting. I don't know how we are going to maybe going forward, we'll see what we can do. But we're going to need to get a number, a few things out. So we'll need our formula really will be, we're going to use using M&M. We can say that our cost of equity on geared, Abi, will be equal to our cost of equity geared multiplied by our value of equity